By God, that's Malachi Jones' music. Malachi Jones coming down the Times Unit Center.
Good God Almighty!
Good God Almighty! He thought he was coming from. He thought he played in Montreal. No, sir. He is back. That's right, ladies and gentlemen.
By God, he's back.
By God, he's back. Malachi Jones, number 7, Albany Empire, making this team. This team is more loaded now than they were at the beginning of the season. they've got Tommy Grady. Now they've got Derek Ross. Now they've got Darius Prince, Philip Barnett, who has been an incredible addition to this team. Now they got Malachi Jones. By God, guys.
It might have been a wrap before, and we're talking about the favorite of the Albany Empire. We joked around earlier in this episode that they didn't need Joe Sykes, right? They could bring him back too.
Mm-hmm.
If Malachi, and I don't doubt that he's in shape, but if Malachi Jones is the Malachi Jones we saw in 2018 and 2019, I don't know if the team's going to stay within 2 touchdowns of the Empire. That's how good they can be. And the whole story behind Malachi, I'm sure you've probably seen a lot of the stuff around, but it's worth noting that he had been working as a brand ambassador for Lululemon, and he was going to go back to the CFL, but because of situations involving COVID, that may have not been an opportunity until December. So because of his current employer saying, we'll give him the opportunity to do this, we think it's good for us, we think it's good for Malachi. It seems as if Malachi is, and maybe I interpreted this different than you did, it sounds like this is his last hurrah. Like, this is it for him in professional football at any level, and he's just going to move on for the rest of his life and go get a championship here.
Yeah, from what he posted on Twitter, on Instagram, it sounds like it's going to be his last shot. Because I remember when he signed with the Montreal Alouettes in 2020, right before pandemic happened. There was no CFL season. There was some thought of there being a 6-game season in a bubble situation, and they play the Grey Cup there. That didn't happen. He's been working out with Alouettes quarterback Vernon Adams Jr., who's an emerging star in that league, with a bunch of other receivers that the Alouettes signed. Unfortunately, they didn't actually. The CFL actually didn't announce plans for a season until last Monday, the 14th. That was a big day for them, and I'm happy I'm a football fan. Period. So I love NFL, college, CFL, arena, NAL. I'll watch any form of football. But I think part of it was the timing, and maybe I'll get an interview with him in the next couple of weeks. I think part of it was the timing with the CFL taking so long to determine whether or not there'll be a season this year, and they finally have a season together. But maybe it was just too long of waiting to see whether or not a season would happen in Canada. And then he just said, "You know what? I'm going to give it another shot in the arena league, in an indoor football, and maybe this is my last chance at a professional career. Get another ring." And then call it a career.
And I think it's worth, and I think it's worth adding to this because it's not even at times what Malachi Jones hasn't been able to do. There have been some things, you mentioned the pandemic there. It is just one of many things that has been out of his control. Remember, he had signed a contract with the Alliance American Football League. I believe it was a team in Atlanta.
The Atlanta Legends.
Thank you. Yeah, the Atlanta Legends.
I have his card. I have a signed card from him.
Right. So he was going to be the standout player there, and because the financial dumb moves that they made, that league folded. And Ryan, you might have to help me here. I believe there was some talk of whether he was going to go to the XFL or the CFL, and because of a contract situation, he may have originally signed with an XFL team and then went to the CFL. Whatever it was. And then, of course, also in that mix, too, the Chicago Bears. So he did get to the NFL. So he had, in one span, if I remember this correctly, there it is. There's the card of the Atlanta Legends. I believe Malachi had gone like 16 months in a row with 3 different football teams, which sounds outrageous, but I believe that's what the stat was, from the Empire to the Legends to the Chicago Bears. He just played football so straight. Eventually, like, when you have leagues folding and not getting paid, and that's nothing you can control. And unfortunately, because the XFL folds, the AFL folds, Canadian Football League, he's just probably looking around like, man, I don't like this anymore. Like, I can only get screwed over so many times where I'm like, all right, enough's enough. I'd like to have control over what happens for the rest of my future.
Yeah. From what I remember, his career path was he played in the AAL in North Carolina, signed with the Empire, played the Empire in 2018, signed with the Bears for the played a preseason game. He played special teams, got cut. Then he signed with the AAL, Atlanta Legends, playing at home in Georgia. He's from the Georgia, I think the Roswell area. They fold, comes back to the Empire. Then he signs with I think he signed with Montreal, but then he got drafted by the Seattle Dragons. And no, he got drafted by the Seattle Dragons, elected not to play, signed with Montreal in the CFL. And then CFL season goes tats up, and he wants to come back. Maybe he'd be coming back with the CFL. He's still under contract with them, and then that kind of falls apart, and now he's coming back to the Empire. It's just such an interesting career arc for him. And again, we'll have the podcast, and we'll talk some more about that. But yeah, it's an interesting career path.
As wild as it all sounds, we actually both might have missed one. I think somewhere like in May of 2019, he got a run with the Tennessee Titans too. It may have just been a tryout.
He got a tryout with them. Yes, I remember that. It was during the Empire's bye week that he got a chance to work out for them.